This video will be the odd problems on page 4-3 and 4-4 notes. We're going to be talking about rates and more specifically unit rates. So we did ratios, which compared two different quantities. A rate is the same thing. It's also a comparison. Of two quantities. So an example of a rate would be that you read 25 pages in 10 minutes. So instead of a ratio where we would say 25 to 10 and then simplify it, we're going to find a unit rate. So a unit rate is a rate with a denominator, so the bottom number, of 1. So instead of talking about how many pages we read in 10 minutes, we want to figure out how many pages we read in 1 minute. So in order to take a rate, so you can see all those problems down there, you're doing this in this. So to find that unit rate, you are just going to divide the numerator, the top number, by the bottom number. That's all it is. You don't even need to write the 1. So in ratios, if we had like 20 over 5 and then it simplified to 4 over 1, we had to leave it as that. For rates, we don't. Okay, for rates, you just divide it and use the number that you get. It is really important that you use labels. All right, so over here it says when you do this, you're going to use this slash symbol, and you read that out loud as per. So I said when we did 25 pages in 10 minutes, we're trying to figure out how many pages per minute. So you would write pages and then the slash and then the minute. Okay, so it doesn't matter how you write these out. You can just do 364 over 7 if you want, or you can do the division sign. It is totally up to you, but then you actually divide that and you end up with 52. So we don't need 52 over 1, we just want 52 miles per hour. And if you want to use mph, usually in your car you see mph, that's totally fine. Or you can do miles/hour. That's all it is. So if you drove 364 miles in 7 hours, your average was 52 miles each hour, 52 miles per hour. That obviously doesn't take into consideration any stops or anything like that. It's just an average. All right, number 3 is probably talking about typing. You typed 210 words in 6 minutes. So you're going to take 210, divide it by 6, and we end up with 35. So 35 words per minute. And you do have to make sure you write the label on every single one of them. Number 5, we got 5 inches of rain in 3 days. So you're going to take 5 divided by 3. Now, when you do this, you're going to get a repeated decimal. If you need to, I want you to round to the nearest tenth. So that's one number after the decimal point. So, and also when you round, you should put a squigglies. All right, so instead of an equal sign, you do squigglies to show approximately. So it's 1.6 repeating, so this would become 1.7 inches per day. So again, I don't want fractions this time. In ratios, we had to have fractions. In rates, you actually need to divide it, and you can round it to the nearest tenth. So one number after your decimal. Number 7, you did 30 math problems in 52 minutes. So 30 over 52. This one is going to round to about 0.6 problems per minute. Okay, so those should be pretty simple. You're just going to divide them in the order they give them to you. If there is a decimal, round to the nearest tenth, one number after the decimal. Number 9 has a whole table here. Shows how many teachers and students are at 4 middle schools, and it's asking which school has the most students per teacher. So in the previous problems, we just divided in the order it was written in. These you're going to have to go backwards. We need students per teacher. So I'm not going to write all of them out, but this one we would do 840 divided by 34. Okay, so you need to take your students and then divide it by the teachers. So 840 divided by 34 gives us approximately 24.7. And then you just keep doing that. So your second one, you're going to take 675 divided by 40. That gives you approximately 16.9. 604 divided by 31 gives us approximately 19.5. And the last one, 578 divided by 28 gives us approximately 20.6. So obviously you can't have a decimal for how many students per teacher, but when you divide it out, that's just what happens. Okay, so you say approximately 25, approximately 17, 20, 21, but you do want to just leave them as the decimal. So which school has the most students per teacher? You can just circle Edgewood Middle School. All right, so just be really careful that you divide these in the way that it says, students per teacher, not teacher per student. So make sure you pay attention to what order things are written in. All right, so to find a unit rate, again, you're just going to divide it in whichever order it needs to go in. Usually it will just be in the correct order right off the bat, but in these tables you have to be a little bit more careful. The other thing we can do with unit rates is find unit prices. So these are always going to be the same. So if you ever go shopping and you're going to check to see what is cheaper, this is how you do it. You always divide the price, so you do your money first, by the quantity, so how many things there are. All right, and the reason is because you say dollars per whatever or cents per whatever. So your money always has to go on top. All right, so it's always money first. So these problems are going to be mixed around. So you have to do money divided by how many ever the number is. So number 11 is written in the correct order, 940 divided by 5. And again, you can use the division sign or you can do the fraction bar. It's totally up to you. For the label on this one, your label is going to be a dollar sign. All right, so it comes out to $1.88 per can. So instead of having the two labels right next to each other, you're going to put the dollar sign first with the money and then the slash and then whatever the item is. So $1.88 per can. 13, they have it flipped around. 15 gallons of gas cost you $31.35. We don't want gallons per dollar, we want dollars per gallon. So again, if it's money, you're always going to do the money first. You have to get that in your mind to always do the money first. $31.35 divided by 15 gives us $2.09 per gallon. Same thing with number 15. They put the movie tickets first for $63.60. So you need to do the money, $63.60 divided by 8. Money divided by quantity. That comes out to $7.95 per ticket. Okay, so again, your label, since it's a rate, you will always have two labels, but one of your labels is the dollar sign in front of your money. 17, a case of 24 bottles of water for $4.99. So $4.99 divided by the 24 bottles of water. That comes out to 0.21. So you have two ways to write this. You can write 21 cents like that per bottle, or you could actually write 21 cents per bottle. Don't put both. I'll write it over here. If you do a decimal and a cent sign, that is very wrong. Okay, so either leave the dollar sign with the decimal or take the decimal away and put the cents. And then 19, we have $5.29 for 5 pounds of hash browns. So $5.29 divided by 5 gives us $1.06 per pound. Now these, if you have to round, since it's money, you need to go out to 2 decimal places. All right, so if it's just a normal unit rate, you can just do one number after the decimal. But for money, you always need to go out to 2 decimals, okay? So this was like 1.058, all right? So instead of making it $1.10, you need the 8 to make the 5 become a 6, okay? So with money, you need to go to 2 decimal places instead of just 1. The reason we do this is to figure out what's cheaper, what's the better deal. So a lot of times people think that the larger quantity is always a bigger deal. Like you shop at Sam's because you get more items, but that's not always the case. So you always need to actually divide this out. So for this one, we're going to do $2.99 divided by 64. And again, you need to round to the nearest cent. So this would be 0.05. All right, so it's 0.46. So that 6 tells the 4 to become a 5. And then the other one, we would do $6.99 divided by 120. Okay, 0.58. So it might look like it's the same, but that 8 tells the 5 to become a 6. So option A is actually the better price, the better deal. All right, so on your homework and whenever we get to a quiz, I would expect to see all of this. Okay, you can't just check one of them. You have to show me why. So you would have to find the unit price. Same thing with 23. For option A, we have a 6-pack of paper towels for $9.79. So $9.79 divided by 6. Again, rounding to the nearest cent would be $1.63. 1.63. And then the bottom one, $12.49 divided by 8 gives us $1.56. So that means option B would be the better deal in this case. All right, so unit rates, just divide. Make sure you know which order you're supposed to go in. With unit price, you always have to do the money divided by the quantity of items. Always do the money first.